Hi there. I have some updates in the wrongful death claim, the lawsuit against Brian Laundrie's estate. The judge has just issued a new order, and we have some new dates coming up. So I'm going to go over that with you in this video. So please do subscribe, support my work by subscribing. Thank you to all of those who have subscribed. I can't talk, it's Monday. And welcome to all of those of you new subscribers. Thank you for joining our community of analyzers. Please hit that like button, hit the bell notification, and please do leave a comment or question because I want to know what your analysis is. Because this video is simply my analysis. It's for educational information purposes. Okay, so in case you popped onto this channel, Gabby Petito was allegedly murdered by Brian Laundrie, her boyfriend. His parents have been appointed as administrators ad litem for purposes of defending a wrongful death claim that Gabby Petito's mother, Nichole Schmidt, has brought against Brian Laundrie's estate. Not Brian Laundrie's parents, against Brian Laundrie's estate. So far, no one on behalf of the defendants, that would be the administrators of Brian Laundrie's estate, or anybody representing Brian Laundrie's estate, or any attorney representing Brian Laundrie's estate, has appeared or responded to the lawsuit, to the wrongful death claim filed by Nichole Schmidt. So, Nichole Schmidt, through her attorney, brought a motion for a default in front of the judge. Nobody appeared on behalf of Brian Laundrie's estate. The judge issued a judicial default, granted the motion for a default brought by Nichole Schmidt. So tomorrow, the Laundries, it'll be a question whether the Laundries show up for a deposition requested by the plaintiff, Nichole Schmidt, on behalf of Gabby Petito's estate, to ask the Laundries as administrators about Brian Laundrie's estate and various other questions. So do you think the Laundries are going to show up for the deposition tomorrow? Starts at 1:30. I think it's Christopher Laundrie first, and then 2:30 is Roberta Laundrie. Or do you think they're going to continue to no-show, which they have a right to do. Every defendant has a right to do, to not respond to lawsuits. And there are consequences. And so far the consequences is a default, judicial default. And the judge has set a jury trial to determine whether the Brian Laundrie's estate is liable for the burial expenses, the funeral expenses, the loss of comfort to both of her parents, etc., in excess of $30,000 in damages. Or whether they're not, Brian Laundrie's estate is not responsible. And that's going to be decided, what the amount of damages, if any, or liability, if any, determined by a jury. The judge, at the motion for the default hearing, scheduled a jury trial date to begin December 20th. It's an estimated 2-day trial date. And you can go and look at the video, the prior video I did regarding the motion to default, and that could give you some more information. Okay, so let's look at the new order that the judge issued and the trial order. We're going to look at the actual court documents. I'm going to explain them. And please do hit that like button and please do subscribe. Okay, so this is the case against Brian Laundrie's estate, not Brian Laundrie's parents. The reason Brian Laundrie's parents are involved in this is because the court appointed them as the administrator of Brian Laundrie's estate for purposes of defending this claim against Brian Laundrie's estate. Okay, I hope you followed that. All right, so the judge had the motion, the default hearing, and this was the order that the judge entered. Ordered in a judge that a judicial, that means a judge issued a default, is entered in this action against the defendants Brian Spivey, because that's the curator, that think of it as the initial administrator of Brian Laundrie's estate, through Christopher Laundrie as administrator ad litem of the estate of Brian Laundrie, and Roberta Laundrie as administrator ad litem of the estate of Brian Laundrie, for their failure to serve or file any paper as required by law. And it's signed by Judge Hunter Carroll, who's also the judge handling the Petito versus Laundrie case. So what does that mean that they failed to serve? Well, they didn't respond to the claims made, the wrongful death claims against Brian Laundrie's estate. And when defendants don't show up, they don't respond, they don't file an answer, they don't come to any court hearings, the judge can, or the clerk can issue a default against them. Okay, so what's the next thing that's going to happen? So I'm just scrolling through this. You can just take a look at it. It was served on Christopher Laundrie, Roberta Laundrie, and William Galarza, who has not made an appearance either in this case. The Laundries haven't appeared, neither has this attorney. This attorney is also the attorney that's representing Brian Laundrie's estate generally, okay? So, and I think he made an appearance in the case regarding the estate of Brian Laundrie, okay? But no one's made an appearance in this lawsuit, the wrongful death claim that Nichole Schmidt, Gabby's mom, has against Brian Laundrie's estate. Okay, so let's take a look at the trial order that the judge also just issued. So this is Nichole Schmidt as administrator of the estate of Gabby Petito. See, she's suing as the administrator on behalf of Gabby's estate against Brian's estate, okay? Versus Brian Spivey as curator of the estate of Brian Laundrie, okay? But the Laundries were the ones that the court appointed as the administrator for purposes of defending this wrongful death lawsuit, okay? So what order did the judge set here? It's ordered that this case is set for jury trial on December 20th, 2022, starting at 8:30. There's a pre-trial conference on November 1st. There's a docket sounding on December 9th. And then there's the jury trial on December 20th. They expect the trial to be 2 days. So what happens at the pre-trial conference is that all parties, the attorneys and with their defendant, and with, in this case, it would be Nichole Schmidt because she's the administrator, and potentially the Laundries as the administrator of Brian's estate. So, and their attorneys can appear or required to appear, and let me show you that. The court is also saying it's going to be an in-person jury trial. The pre-trial conference appearances can be made either in person or via Zoom. Same with the docket sounding, in person and via Zoom. And if you want to watch it, the courtroom is public. Here's the Zoom information you need. So you can zoom in on those days and those times. All right. So it says under paragraph 4, attorneys and unrepresented parties must appear at the pretrial conference and be prepared. So the attorneys are required to appear. So what happens if no one appears on behalf of Brian Laundrie's estate? Well, the judge is going to have to make another decision here. The case will probably just continue to stay in default, and then it'll just go to trial, right? So, lead counsel, paragraph 5. Lead counsel for each party must attend the mandatory docket sounding. That's where they address all matters relating to trial. The witnesses available, the evidence list all together, putting together any potential jury questions, all of that. That's what happens during docket sounding. During the pretrial conference, that typically is when the parties get together, or their attorneys in this case, get together and decide whether or not they could resolve this case short of going to trial. Is there any possible settlement? Those kind of issues come up. But again, in this order that the judge has issued, the judge is issuing the parties to appear and or their counsels to appear. Well, the Laundries as administrators haven't appeared, and there's a default. So do you think they're probably going to default and not appear at these two at the pretrial and also at the docket sounding? So what happens if that happens? Well, the case is still going to go to trial, right? And because the plaintiff, in this case, Nichole Schmidt, as administrator, has to prove the amount of damages, right, and the liability on behalf of Brian Laundrie's estate, to show that there is some liability and that Brian Laundrie's estate is responsible for those damages. Funeral expenses, burial expenses, loss of comfort for both parents, etc., damages in excess of $30,000. Paragraph 6, failure to attend the pretrial conference or the mandatory docket sounding could result in the court dismissing the action. striking the pleadings, limiting the proof, or witnesses, or taking other appropriate action. Well, dismissing the action isn't going to apply because they're not bringing, the Laundries as administrators are not bringing this case. They're defending it. So I imagine, I'm not a Florida lawyer here, I imagine it's just going to go to jury trial on January 20th. I mean December 20th. Sorry about that. You can go ahead and read through this. There's not going to be any recordings of the proceedings. And it's done so and ordered by Judge Hunter Carroll. And it was served on Patrick Riley, the attorney representing Nichole Schmidt as administrator of Gabby Petito's estate, Brian Spivey and the Laundries as administrator of Brian Laundrie's estate. So we'll see what happens. Do you think the Laundries are going to show up tomorrow at the deposition regarding the wrongful death claim against Brian Laundrie's estate? Or do you think they're going to continue to be a no-show? Let there be a default judgment entered eventually, right? Once the damages are proven at the trial as to how much, then the judge could issue and order a default judgment. And then it's up to Nichole Schmidt as administrator to enforce that judgment against Brian Laundrie's estate. Okay? So, what do you think? You think they're going to show up at the deposition? And by the way, the Laundries have also been noticed for their depositions in the Petito versus Laundrie emotional distress case. And I'll do a video on that next. So, please hit that like button. Leave a comment or question. Do you think they're going to show up at trial? Do you think they're going to show up at depo? Or do you think they're just going to be a flat-out no-show? Let it go to a default judgment and let him collect if there's any assets in Brian Laundrie's estate. So, thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell notification, and thank you for watching.